What if I told you that on this planet there are places where one wrong step means disappearing forever, where fire burns without fuel, where lakes can poison your skin, and where roads cling to cliffs like fragile threads hanging over empty space? Yet every year people still travel there, they still climb, they still risk everything, just to witness what few humans ever see. These are not myths, these are not movies, these are real locations. Places where nature ignores technology, where rescue is rare, and where survival depends on courage, luck, and discipline. In this documentary, you will journey across the most dangerous places on Earth. High in eastern Turkey lies a narrow stone road carved directly into vertical cliffs, where one side presses against solid rock and the other opens into a deadly drop that falls hundreds of meters into empty space. The stone road of Himalayas was built by hand over decades by workers hanging from ropes and scaffolding, with no modern machinery and no safety systems. In many sections, the road is barely wide enough for one vehicle and has no guardrails, no protection, and no room for error. Rain makes the stone slippery fog, hides curves, and falling rocks strike without warning. If a car loses control, there is no recovery, no second chance, and no rescue. Drivers must move slowly in silence, gripping the wheel while staring into endless space. Here, survival depends entirely on calm nerves and perfect control. High in the Austrian Alps lies the Donnerkogel sky ladder, a steel staircase suspended between cliffs hundreds of meters above the ground. This via ferrata route forces climbers to cross open-air ladders and cables where wind pushes against the body and clouds erase depth perception. Below lies only empty air and sharp rock. Hands freeze in cold weather, legs shake from exhaustion, and fear weakens balance. One mistake, one loose grip, or one moment of panic can lead to fatal falls. Even experienced climbers feel their heartbeat race here because there is nowhere to hide from danger. On this ladder, courage is tested step by step. In the deserts of Turkmenistan lies a massive crater filled with fire that has been burning continuously for more than 50 years. Known as the Door to Hell, this pit was created when Soviet engineers accidentally collapsed a gas field and set it on fire, expecting it to burn out within days. It never did. Today, flames roar day and night, releasing toxic gases while extreme heat makes the surrounding ground unstable. The edges crumble without warning, and falling inside means instant death. The heat damages equipment, breathing becomes difficult, and night temperatures drop suddenly. Visitors who approach without proper protection risk collapse from fumes or burns. Here the earth itself is on fire. Lake Retba appears beautiful, with its bright pink water caused by special algae reacting to sunlight. But this lake is extremely salty, almost as salty as the Dead Sea. Workers who harvest salt here spend hours in water that burns, skin damages eyes and creates painful wounds. Without protection, salt crystals cut into flesh, causing infections and permanent damage. Long exposure leads to dehydration, muscle failure, and skin disease. Yet people continue working because this lake provides their livelihood. Here, beauty hides suffering. Bhairavgarh Fort sits on a steep mountain peak in Maharashtra, accessible only by narrow rock paths and exposed climbs. There are no guardrails, no safety cables, and no modern steps. Climbers must grip sharp rock while wind pushes from below, and rain turns surfaces into ice. During monsoon season, waterfalls run across paths, making slips common. Many visitors have fallen to their deaths here. Reaching the top requires strength, balance, and mental control. One mistake means vanishing into the valley. Suspended above raging rivers in northern Pakistan lies the Hussaini Hanging Bridge, one of the most dangerous footbridges in the world. Wooden planks are missing, ropes are worn, and strong winds shake the structure constantly. Below flows icy glacial water that kills within minutes. Each step causes the bridge to swing violently, making balance difficult. Children cross this bridge daily to reach school, accepting danger as normal life. For visitors, fear becomes overwhelming halfway across. Here, courage is not optional. Hidden in the mountains of Romania lies Gheamana, a village that was slowly drowned by toxic waste from a copper mine, until only rooftops and church towers remained above a sea of poisonous sludge. In the 1970s, the government redirected industrial waste into this valley, forcing families to abandon their homes while acidic chemicals and heavy metals flooded the land. Today the water is filled with sulfur copper and toxic residues that burn skin-damaged lungs and poison soil. Breathing the air for long periods can cause headaches, nausea, and long-term illness. Structures collapse without warning, and unstable ground can trap visitors in contaminated mud. Only a few residents remain, refusing to leave despite the danger. Here, survival means living beside poison every day. The D915 road in northeastern Turkey is carved into steep mountains using dozens of sharp, unprotected switchbacks with massive drops on both sides. There are no guardrails, no safety zones, and almost no space to recover from mistakes. Fog hides curves, rain loosens gravel, and snow turns the road into ice. Drivers must reverse on cliff edges when meeting oncoming traffic. Mechanical failure here is often fatal because stopping safely is nearly impossible. Many locals refuse to use this road unless absolutely necessary. On D915, hesitation can be deadly. High in the Himalayas lies Rupkund Lake, where hundreds of human skeletons rest beneath frozen water. For centuries, this mysterious lake remained unexplained until scientists discovered that many died suddenly during violent hailstorms thousands of years ago. At over 5,000 meters altitude, oxygen is low, temperatures drop rapidly, and storms form without warning. Travelers face altitude sickness, frostbite, and exhaustion. Paths are narrow, slippery, and surrounded by steep cliffs. Many trekkers underestimate the danger and collapse before reaching safety. Rupkund is a reminder that nature can erase entire groups in minutes. Deep in the canals of Mexico lies an island covered in thousands of decaying dolls hanging from trees and buildings. The creator placed them there after finding a drowned child and believing the dolls would protect him from spirits. Over time, the island became unstable, filled with rotting wood, sharp debris, insects, and disease-carrying animals. Many visitors suffer injuries while moving through collapsing walkways. Isolation, heat, and psychological fear cause panic and accidents. Emergency help is far away. Here, danger comes from decay and darkness. In Chile's Atacama Desert stands the giant sculpture called Mano del Desierto, rising from one of the driest places on Earth. This region receives almost no rainfall, and temperatures swing violently between day and night. Dehydration happens quickly. Navigation is difficult and rescue may take days. Vehicles break down easily and sandstorms erase tracks. Many travelers who underestimate the desert are never found. Here, beauty hides deadly isolation. The Dolomite Via Ferrata routes are climbing paths fixed with steel cables, ladders and bridges across vertical cliffs. Although secured, these routes expose climbers to massive drops, strong winds and sudden storms. Metal surfaces become slippery during rain and ice forms quickly in cold weather. Lightning strikes are common in mountain storms. Fatigue weakens grip and fear causes hesitation. Several fatal accidents occur every year. On these paths, balance means life. High in the Swiss Alps, the Gotthard Pass has served as one of Europe's most important mountain crossings for centuries. Yet it remains one of its most dangerous, because weather here can change faster than human reactions. Snowstorms arrive. Suddenly, fog erases visibility, and strong winds push vehicles towards steep cliffs where there are few barriers to stop a fall. In winter, ice covers the road, making braking unreliable and steering unpredictable, while avalanches regularly block routes and trap travelers for hours or days. Historically, merchants, soldiers and pilgrims died here from exposure and accidents long before modern tunnels existed. Even today, mechanical failure or bad timing can leave drivers stranded in freezing temperatures far from help. Survival on the Gotthard Pass depends on preparation, patience and respect for mountains that still control every crossing. Between Panama and Colombia lies the Darien Gap, one of the most dangerous and lawless jungle regions on Earth, where no highway exists and where nature and human threats combine. Dense rainforest hides venomous snakes, poisonous insects, and deadly diseases, while rivers flood suddenly and swallow camps without warning. Navigation is almost impossible because GPS signals are weak, and landmarks change constantly, making travelers walk in circles until exhaustion takes over. Criminal groups and smugglers operate in the area, increasing the risk of kidnapping and violence. Medical help is non-existent and injuries quickly become fatal. Thousands have attempted to cross this region, and many never emerged. Here the jungle decides who continues and who disappears. Carved into steep Himalayan cliffs, the Kishwar Road in India is one of the narrowest and most dangerous mountain roads in the world. In many sections, the road is barely wider than a single vehicle and has no guardrails separating drivers from massive drops. Loose gravel collapses easily, rain washes away traction, and landslides regularly destroy sections without warning. Two vehicles cannot pass safely, forcing drivers to reverse dangerously close to the edge. Breakdowns are often fatal because towing services are far away and stopping safely is difficult. Here, every journey becomes a test of nerve and skill. Inside Namibia's Namib Desert lies Deadvlei, a white clay pan surrounded by towering red dunes and extreme heat, where survival becomes nearly impossible without preparation. Daytime temperatures exceed 40 degrees Celsius and shade is almost non-existent, causing dehydration and heat stroke within hours. Water supplies disappear quickly, and rescue vehicles struggle in soft sand that traps tires. Navigation is difficult because the landscape looks identical in every direction, and sandstorms erase tracks. Many travelers who wander too far from routes become lost and collapse before help arrives. Deadvlei is beautiful, but unforgiving. Mont Blanc stands as the highest mountain in Western Europe, attracting thousands of climbers each year. Yet it remains one of the deadliest peaks on the continent. Sudden storms, extreme cold avalanches, and falling rocks strike without warning even on popular routes. Altitude sickness weakens climbers, causing poor judgment and slow reactions. Many underestimate the mountain because of its accessibility and attempt climbs without proper training. Rescue helicopters are often grounded by weather, leaving injured climbers stranded overnight in freezing conditions. Hundreds have died here, reminding visitors that popularity does not mean safety. Stretching across Western Australia, the Canning Stock route is one of the longest and most isolated tracks in the world, crossing vast deserts with almost no settlements. Temperatures soar above 45 degrees, water sources are scarce, and mechanical failure can leave travelers stranded hundreds of kilometers from help. Communication signals are weak and rescue operations may take days or weeks. Sand dunes trap vehicles easily, and navigation mistakes lead deep into uncharted terrain. Many explorers have died here from dehydration and exhaustion. Survival depends on perfect planning and mental endurance. High in the Andes of Ecuador lies Nariz del Diablo, also known as the Devil's Nose, a railway carved into near-vertical cliffs where trains zigzag down dangerous slopes with no room for error. The track was built by hand in the early 20th century and cost hundreds of lives due to landslides, disease, and falls from extreme heights. Even today, the route remains dangerous because rockfalls, heavy rain, and fog can suddenly block visibility and destabilize the tracks. Passengers ride only meters from massive drops, while sharp turns test the limits of braking systems. Mechanical failure here can send a train sliding into empty space. Survival on this route depends on constant maintenance, skilled operators, and favorable weather. On the Devil's Nose, gravity is always waiting. In New Zealand's geothermal region lies Champagne Pool, a stunning hot spring filled with bright colours caused by minerals and heat. But beneath its beauty lies water heated to nearly 75 degrees Celsius, strong enough to cause severe burns within seconds. Toxic gases rise from the surface, and unstable ground surrounds the pool, making it easy to slip into deadly temperatures. The crust around the edges can collapse without warning, sending victims directly into boiling liquid. Visitors must stay within marked areas because one mistake can lead to permanent injury or death. Here, nature disguises danger as beauty. In the Czech Republic stands Sedlec Ossuary, a small chapel decorated with the bones of more than 40,000 people. While not dangerous in a physical sense, this site carries biological and structural risks caused by centuries-old remains and fragile architecture. High humidity and poor ventilation can affect breathing, and old structures can collapse without warning. The psychological impact is also intense as visitors walk beneath chandeliers made of skulls and walls lined with human remains. Panic, disorientation, and accidents have occurred among overwhelmed visitors. Here, danger comes from decay and history rather than nature. Winding through tropical rainforest in Australia, the Kuranda scenic railway passes waterfalls, cliffs, and unstable slopes where nature constantly threatens the tracks. Heavy rain causes landslides, floods, and falling trees that can derail trains or trap passengers for hours. Humidity weakens infrastructure, and storms reduce visibility to almost nothing. During cyclone season, entire sections become unsafe and require constant repairs. Rescue operations are difficult in dense jungle terrain. Survival here depends on weather monitoring and precise engineering. Jeju Island in South Korea was formed by volcanic eruptions and remains geologically active with lava tubes, cliffs, and unstable coastlines. Sudden storms, powerful waves, and strong currents regularly cause drownings and shipwrecks. Volcanic caves can collapse, and toxic gases may accumulate in enclosed spaces. Hikers face sudden fog, strong winds, and steep lava ridges with little shelter. Typhoons strike the island yearly, causing floods and landslides. Here, beauty exists beside constant natural risk. Spotted Lake in Canada contains extremely high concentrations of minerals, including magnesium, calcium, and sulfate, forming colorful pools on its surface. While visually stunning, the water is highly corrosive and can damage skin, eyes, and lungs if exposed for long periods. During hot seasons, toxic dust rises from dried minerals, causing breathing problems. The surrounding soil is fragile and unstable, making movement risky. Access is restricted because of both health dangers and cultural importance to indigenous communities. Here, chemistry itself becomes a threat. High in northern Vietnam, Pi Leng Pass cuts through towering limestone mountains, where narrow roads cling to cliffs hundreds of meters above deep valleys. Drivers face sharp bends, loose gravel, and strong winds that push vehicles toward open edges with almost no guardrails for protection. Dense fog often rolls in without warning, erasing visibility and turning simple curves into deadly traps. During rainy seasons, landslides and falling rocks strike suddenly, blocking roads and crushing vehicles. Motorcyclists and tourists frequently underestimate the danger and lose control on steep slopes. Rescue operations are difficult because of isolation and unstable terrain. Here, every journey is a test between courage and gravity. Verdon Gorge in southern France is one of the deepest canyons in Europe, with cliffs rising more than 700 meters above a fast-moving river. Climbers, kayakers, and hikers are drawn here by its beauty, yet face extreme risks from falling rocks, sudden storms, and unstable ledges. Strong winds sweep through the canyon, throwing climbers off balance, while rain turns limestone surfaces into slippery death zones. Kayakers risk being trapped by whirlpools and flash floods that rise rapidly after mountain storms. Many accidents occur when visitors overestimate their skills. In Verdon, one misstep can mean a fall with no return. Beneath Iceland's glaciers lie the Katla ice caves, formed by volcanic heat, melting ice from below, creating fragile tunnels of blue crystal. These caves constantly shift and collapse because melting never stops and volcanic activity remains active underneath. Sudden cave-ins can bury explorers within seconds, while hidden cracks swallow victims without warning. Meltwater floods passages, quickly trapping visitors far from exits. Toxic gases from volcanic vents sometimes enter enclosed spaces, making breathing dangerous. Only trained guides can safely navigate these caves. Here, ice and fire combine to create constant danger. Off the coast of Yemen lies Socotra, an isolated island famous for its strange landscapes and rare species found nowhere else on Earth. But reaching and surviving here is difficult due to political instability, rough seas, limited infrastructure, and harsh climate. Strong winds and powerful currents make sea travel dangerous, while medical facilities are extremely limited. Temperatures rise quickly and freshwater sources are scarce, causing dehydration and exhaustion. Cyclones sometimes strike without warning, destroying villages and cutting off communication. Visitors must be fully prepared because help may not arrive for days. On Socotra, isolation itself becomes the greatest threat. Tiger Leaping Gorge in China is one of the deepest river canyons in the world, carved by the powerful Yangtze River. Hiking trails run along steep cliffs where loose stones and narrow ledges leave little room for error. Heavy rain causes landslides that sweep hikers into the gorge, while strong winds destabilize balance. Flash floods can suddenly raise river levels and destroy bridges. Altitude and exhaustion weaken travelers, making mistakes more likely. Many rescues are delayed by difficult terrain. Here, nature punishes careless steps. On Lake General Carrera in Chile lie the marble caves sculpted by waves over thousands of years, creating delicate tunnels and arches. Visitors explore by boat and kayak, yet face danger from sudden storms, strong currents, and collapsing rock formations. High winds generate powerful waves that slam boats into sharp marble walls. Water temperatures remain extremely cold, causing hypothermia within minutes if someone falls in. Rock fragments occasionally break loose and fall without warning. Rescue is difficult in remote lake regions. Here, beauty and danger exist side by side. What if every kilometer you traveled was marked by crosses for people who made one small mistake and never came back? Youngest road in Bolivia clings to steep jungle cliffs with loose gravel, thick fog, and drops of hundreds of meters with no guardrails. Two vehicles can barely pass and one must reverse dangerously close to the edge. Rain turns the road into mud waterfalls, run across the surface, and landslides strike without warning. For decades, hundreds died here every year, and many wrecks were never recovered. Even today, adventurers still risk their lives on this road. Here, hesitation means death. What if your highway crossed earthquakes, glaciers, and collapsing mountains? The Karakoram Highway links Pakistan and China through unstable terrain where landslides bury vehicles and floods destroy bridges. Weather changes suddenly, and altitude causes dizziness and slow reactions. Rescue is difficult and accidents are often fatal. This road demands constant respect. What if walking through an empty city slowly destroyed your body from the inside? After the 1986 nuclear explosion, Chernobyl became contaminated with invisible radiation that still damages land and buildings today. Radiation causes cancer, organ failure, and genetic damage years after exposure. Some areas are deadly within minutes. Visitors who enter illegally risk permanent harm. Here, death is silent and delayed. What if the only road to paradise was one mistake away from death? Fairy Meadows Road in Pakistan clings to cliffs near Nanga Parbat with no guardrails and massive drops below. Rain, fog, and landslides make driving even more dangerous. Two vehicles can barely pass, and breakdowns are often fatal. Survival depends on experience and steady nerves. What if every kilometer you traveled was marked by crosses for people who made one small mistake and never came back? Youngest road in Bolivia clings to steep jungle cliffs with loose gravel, thick fog, and drops of hundreds of meters with no guardrails. Two vehicles can barely pass and one must reverse dangerously close to the edge. Rain turns the road into mud waterfalls, run across the surface, and landslides strike without warning. For decades, hundreds died here every year, and many wrecks were never recovered. Even today, adventurers still risk their lives on this road. Here, hesitation means death.